Good afternoon. We want to thank you all for joining us. This is our final virtual session of the day, and we have saved the best for last. This afternoon, we have with us Mr. Tim Akers from Westway Feed Products. Tim is very local and known here in the Brazos Valley. He is a resident in Iola, Texas, and Westway has been a partner with Producers Cooperative for many, many years now. So we are very familiar with the products that Westway has to offer. They have some liquid feed products, tub products, and many, many other additives that we can use in different rations. So not to steal his thunder, but we want to welcome Mr. Tim Akers to the stage, and he is going to go over the nutritional program we have for you today. We will start back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with more virtual live sessions you can tune into. And again, we thank you for joining us. And here comes Tim.
Thank you. I appreciate the introduction. It's always nice to start off with friendly faces. And on behalf of Westway and producers, we want to express our thanks for having us here today. Excuse my tongue tiedness a little bit, but we're really grateful for our production and through Producers Co-op and our ability to align ourselves with them. They have the similar values, and that we can pass that along to our customers and help better service them. We're going to start off today with a little bit about Westway Feed. Westway Feed is kind of unique in the feed business. We have 28 plants across the United States and Canada. You can look at this map, it kind of shows everyone. We have 3 plants that produce just strictly tubs, and then the other plants are all liquid feed products. If you think about us, we have a huge territory that we cover, but everything right in this area is going to come out of our Houston plant if it's liquid, and Sulphur Springs would be our tub plant. Westway is actually owned by a company out of London called ED&F Man. And ED&F Man has been around since the early 1700s. So we have a very long relationship with cattle industry and the molasses industry. ED&F Man controls about 7 million tons of the 7.5 million tons of molasses that's produced annually. They're the world's largest sugar and coffee trader, and therefore molasses is a byproduct for them. At Westway Feeds, we use the molasses, the byproduct side, and converting it to cattle feed. And if you look at this slide, you see that there's not only we have beef, cow, calf, but we have dairy, feedlots, equine tubs. Here at Producers, they also use our products that make the pellets that you may buy here, or the textured feed has molasses. But in addition to those, we have some other things, such as molasses is used to make coal briquettes, fire starter logs, used for fertilization and also for wastewater remediation. Westway's been around a long time. It started back in the 50s, but in the 1992, they came out with their very own edition of a fortified molasses that was built as a liquid protein supplement, not just molasses like was fed years before. 1997, Westway acquired the Mold Mix brand from Cargill. And in 2002, they acquired the Prolix brand from PM Ag. 2009, Westway acquired Sugar Licks in a joint venture with Florida Sugar. So through these acquisitions, Westway has become the world's largest liquid feed manufacturer. Here at Westway, we like to say, don't miss a lick. And that's one of the reasons we're here today. We want to get your cattle involved in a tub or liquid supplement that we can show you how the nutritional benefits will be beneficial to your operation. So why are we here? Well, if you look at this picture, it's an outstanding set of commercial cows. And I think anybody that's watching this would be glad to have those in their pasture. I know my kids are raising pen of 3 heifers and for the fair. And if we had some of those, I think we would be really competitive. If you look too, there's lots of standing forage there. And that's something that liquid protein supplements can take advantage of. And we can utilize that nutritional value in those grasses. Now, I know a lot of you are looking at that grass and you're like me, we've been neglecting on the rainfall side and we could use a good rain. And if we had grass like that, we'd really feel a lot better going into the fall. So some things you might want to ask yourself today are you in the cattle business or are you in the beef business? You know, that's a really high quality steak and all of us would be proud to have that. But some of us are probably going to say, are you a grass farmer? Because if you think about it, if we're farming grass, we're actually using the lowest cost feed alternative to have the cow turn that into that quality steak. Cattle are super efficient at taking forage that cannot be used by humans and converting that to high quality beef. Did you know there's nearly 800 million acres of land in the United States that is not suitable for farming or building, and cattle can convert that grass into high quality beef. Without cattle, we don't get that steak right there. Here's a little side note for you. Here's 3 products, and you've heard lots of buzzwords lately about fake meat products. Well, 2 of these are fake meat. One of them is a different product. But if you look at them, they're very similar. You really can't pick which one would be a part. You know, if I do this live, it's kind of hard doing this thing with nobody here. But if I had a live audience, I would probably maybe give a candy bar away. So, hey, if anybody can guess which one of these is the right one, tell me. But they're all similar. They have pea protein isolates and vitamins and minerals and lots of stuff you can't pronounce. You know, beef really has one ingredient, and everybody knows beef, and that's the only ingredient in it. So if you look at this, the one on the left is Beyond Meat, and you see that like locally at Freebirds. And Impossible Burger is Burger King's version of the fake meat that they're selling. But the middle one is a high dollar vegan dog food. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to stick with the one and only beef. Hopefully everybody can kind of see the difference in that. That's on a side note, but here's the thing we raise, and it's beef, and that's what we're proud of as farmers and ranchers in the Brazos Valley. This is what sets us apart from something that could be construed as dog food. Now, how do we get to this level? I mean, we're talking about raising beef and what we're doing and how to get to that point, but how do we do it economically? How do we do it and have a better conversion and have a better yield, but still not cost us too much? Well, one thing that's funny, it's about the bugs. We're not feeding the cow. We're feeding the bugs in the cow's rumen. That's what actually converts that grass to beef. So you may ask, why liquid feeding tubs? Well, you know, I'm using liquid feeding tubs interchangeably today. They're the same product, just kind of a different form. So if I say one or the other, they're both through the same process. But so you ask, why liquid feed? Well, liquid feed is an additive that we can use. But if you look at this pasture here, it's great green grass. I mean, if we had this right now, everybody would be very content. Calves are big and fat. Cows are in good shape. Grass looks perfect. I mean, you couldn't ask for much better. But in reality, we just got through with grass that was a little more mature, getting harder to digest. It's a little less nutritional value. And we're actually headed into this type of scenario where we're in dormant grasses, and they even have less nutritional value. They're twice as hard for the cow to digest. We're also looking at starting feeding hay. So do you have really high quality alfalfa hay, or might you have some poor cornstalk hay or wheat greens, or what? It could really vary. So that's where we want to talk about adding liquid feed and the protein in it to feed the bugs to break down this byproducts. So if we have our hay put up and we really want to get the most out of it, an additional protein source will allow us to do that. So we talk about filling the gap. There's really about 60 days that the grass can provide the proper nutrition for a cow in our area. And those 60 days, of course, have long passed. We're talking early summer, late spring, when the grass is actively growing, when there's plenty of protein. But if you look at this chart, this graph here, when our cattle are starting to calve and starting to lactate, their nutritional requirements are coming up. Our grass is going down. So what we're going to do with liquid feed supplement is fill that nutritional deficit, or the gap, as we're looking at. Because not only does a cow need more as the nutrition in the grass is going down, she's actually able to convert less of what she eats because she can't physically break it down. So it's kind of a double whammy scenario for a cow. So the more she needs, the calf's getting bigger, she's having to lactate more, she's trying to rebreed. She's able to eat less and less grass every day, and therefore we're getting less and less out of what we eat. So I'm going to give you a real quick synopsis. Everybody can get a graduate degree right here today. It's free of charge, no shipping and handling required. We'll go over it twice if we need to, but you'll get a degree. It's called manurology. Don't laugh. It's probably a fake term, but we invented it. If you look at the cow patty on the left, you can kind of tell about it. It's green grass. It's really soft looking patty. You'd hate to fall in it. That's a BS. No, it doesn't stand for that. It stands for Bachelor's of Science. But you can tell what that cow ate and that she's getting a lot out of that. You look at the one on the right, that's the PhD. It's piled high and deep, or piled high and dry, however you want to look at it. A lot of that makes that manure patty stack up is undigested forage. So even though the cow processed it into her mouth, she wasn't able to break it down through the rumen and excreted it out the back. So we lost a portion of what we ate. Not only did she lose a portion, she couldn't eat enough because she's sitting there trying to digest it. You think about cattle in the spring. You see them, they eat. They don't ever lay down and chew their cud as much as you see one in the dead of summer when she eats in the morning, chews her cud for a little while in the heat of the day, eats again, but she just can't actually digest that. And that's where these protein supplements come in. So we look at the science of liquid feed, and you're asking, well, how does it work? Well, liquid feed products enhance the ability of the rumen bacterial population to digest forage, thereby increasing the fiber digesting capacity and efficiency of the animal. Because of this, supplementation of a forage diet should primarily target the needs, not of the cow, but of the microbes in the rumen. So we're feeding the bugs. That's what it boils down to. We're using protein supplements to feed the bugs to actually break down more grass. So how do we feed the bugs? Well, it's pretty easy. They need two things, protein and energy. Protein in a liquid supplement is readily available through a degradable source of urea. Urea is a very safe, naturally degradable ingredient from all protein. Most protein is converted to urea by a cow just in the normal everyday occurrence of her consuming product. Another thing we need for the bugs is energy. Liquid molasses or liquid protein supplements containing molasses have a readily available sugar content, super fast energy. Now we look at fat. Fat's become the buzzword of lots of stuff now. Everybody wants fat in their feed, fat in their liquid, fat in their ration. Fat in a feed doesn't translate to fat on an animal's back. And that's one thing that maybe we've kind of gotten away from and haven't realized is that's not always the case. And in the case of a liquid protein supplement, you probably need to limit your fat a little bit. Think about it this way. If I coat all that grass that cow eats in fat and it's kind of emulsified, the bugs got to get through the fat before they break down the forage. We're not wanting to feed the bugs fat. We've already got sugar for energy. So we're wanting to feed them that forage. The bugs are super efficient at breaking down forage, and that's where we want to feed. We want to feed the bugs to break down the forage, to convert the grass to that high quality steak we saw earlier. Here was a study done back in the 80s on some steers that were on a pasture. If there was no supplement, their hay intake was about 15 pounds per head per day. They digested a little over 40.5%, and the TDN from the hay was about 6.1%. If we gave them a grain diet supplementing their hay intake, they actually ate less hay, 1.1 pounds less. But they digested even less of it to 34%. So the TDN they got from hay was only 4.8%. So a lot of change there. But in this study, if we added protein to the hay, they took in, their hay intake went up 2.6%. Or 2.6 pounds. Their digestibility also went up by 3%. So we increased their TDN from 6.1 to 7.1. Pretty good increase for just a little bit of supplement. So we're looking at what's the right thing to choose to feed the bugs. Well, generally there's tons of things you can use. We got liquid protein, we've got tubs, we've got range cubes, we've got cottonseed cake cubes. So lots of variants. But looking at this chart, we're going to look at liquid feed versus range cube. Well, liquid usually is roughly a 32%. It's got sugars to feed the bugs that we've been talking about. It's available to a cow 24/7. If you got a cow having a calf, she can walk back by there the next morning after you've long gone, she can eat. If you got some cows that you've just put in a pasture and they're still a little timid, they can come up. The boss cow can't stand there all day. She's going to walk off and they can finally get some feed. Liquid also contains vitamins and trace minerals. There's virtually no waste and it's very convenient. You don't even have to put it out. Co-op's going to come do that for you. You give them a call and they're going to drive out there and do the work for you. Now we look at range cubes. They're 20% protein for the most part. They don't contain any sugar to help feed the bugs. You got to feed once a day or every other day, depending on your situation. They only have vitamin A. Then you got to deal with fines, cattle stomping the cubes in the ground, getting manure on them. And then once again, you got to go all the time. Co-op's not going to feed for you. They're just going to sell you the feed. So that's a total difference of how this is going to work and what some of the benefits are when we get down to economics of it. So we look, what are the benefits of liquid feed? Another thing we want to talk about today, well, it's a nutritional fit. You know, we've got the protein, 32%. We talked about that. We've got an energy source in the sugars. We've also got some limited fat, and all these together are going to increase our forage utilization, once again, because we're feeding the bugs. In addition to the products listed there, we have mineral packs that contain sulfate and organic minerals that increase absorption into the cow, and along with vitamins A, D, and E in every liquid supplement. So liquid supplements will provide a consistent source of supplemental nutrients to bridge the gap we talked about earlier between what forages provide and what cattle actually need. And liquid feed intake is going to change as forage conditions change. So you think about, we're going to increase forage utilization because of feeding the rumen microbes. Those microbes are going to break down more and more of the forage. The cattle is going to be able to eat more and digest more. So we're kind of in a win-win. We're using our cheapest feed source, which is naturally grown grass, to feed cattle, and by feeding the microbes, they can actually get more out of it. As the forage nutrition lessens in quality, cattle are still able to digest more of it. Therefore, we're still utilizing more of it and not passing it through the cow and getting that PhD cow patty we had looked at earlier. So we look at proper nutrition over the long term. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of something called epigenetics. Epigenetics is a real new study that they're doing through nutrition that actually talks about how the calf in the womb is affected by how you feed the cow today. And not only does it affect the calf in the womb, but it'll affect her calves. So if you've got a cow and she's bred with a heifer, how you feed the cow today is going to affect 2 generations. So anything that she may lack while she's in the womb, she's going to pass that to her offspring as well. And it's really neat scenario. It's pretty fascinating if you really get to looking into it, but to have 2 generations, it can be affected by how you feed the calf or how you feed the cow. Now, if you think about it, you know, if your cow's pretty thin, she's going to have a thinner calf. She's going to pass on less reproduction to her calf. She's going to pass on less health to her calf. So those are the things we want to keep in mind. And this is part of a year-round supplementation program. If we can constantly keep that cow and bridge that gap between the nutrition, then we know her calves are going to provide and perform. Part of that providing the right nutrition is getting an increased percentage of your cows bred. We have better cow herd performance overall, more calves born earlier, which is going to translate to about 20 pounds per head, and then increased calf performance. We talked about the health being passed through the dam. So those are some things that providing this nutrition can actually help you with. So we're looking at the Westway difference. Why is Westway set aside in this? Well, one, we're time tested. We've been around a long time. We have lots of research-backed, proven products that are very consistent. We have a defined quality assurance program with an in-house lab for product testing and research. Every feed that we make has a retained sample. We keep that. We know exactly what goes in our feed. We have a technical service team of nutritionists and others that we can call upon at any time. If you ever have questions, we have those things to help you. And our parent company's logistic and purchasing advantages set us apart from anybody else. Wrong slide. So in closing, I really thank y'all for allowing me this. Here's my contact information. That's the 800 number for the office. But if you have any questions, we can address those now. If you have any later, we can also look at those. I can get back with you through producers, so we'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Thank you again.
So again, on behalf of I'm good. Yeah, we're live. So again, on behalf of Producers Co-op, we want to thank Tim Akers for joining us. And if you have any questions, Tim is always available to us. We have immediate access to Tim. He can make farm calls with us, so we can come see you on your operation, determine and access what you're going to need in your nutritional program. Also, on behalf of Producers Cooperative, we want to thank you all for your participation in our very first virtual Everything Ag Expo. Again, we want to remind you we're going to start this whole process over again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We do recommend that if you are going to be joining us for some of the CEU courses that we're offering, that you try accessing and logging in with ample time, say 15, 20, 30 minutes in advance. Therefore, if you're having trouble getting logged in, you can call here to producers 979 778 6000 and get assistance with that login process. So we want to make sure that everybody gets to participate, gets their CEU credits, and can watch all of the informational products and programs and services that we are bringing to you today. We want to remind you that if you do log in and register for Expo online or participate in the store, we will be entering your name into our daily door prize drawings. We do those at 9:30 each morning. So tune in tomorrow morning at 9:30 to see if you're going to be one of the lucky winners. Tomorrow is another big day for us, and we're going to stay here longer. So we're going to be open from 5:30 until 7:30. We're going to have some sunset specials, some midnight madness. We won't be here till midnight though, but we will be here till 7:30. All the manufactured branded producers feeds will be $1 off. So come take advantage of that. Come see what we have. And we're going to sign out today, and we are done